offend anyone. Anyway.
You can offend. If they're offended by that, they need to watch back some more Caps
He's the best
games.
player in the West. You know what? I shouldn't have held anything back. At least for now, though, we get a couple of those mid lane bans taken away from said man. But this time, dyNquedo's Kali was also pinched out of the pool, considering we saw that a few times, actually, in the playing stage.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see exactly what paiN comes out with. G2 is a player who's been getting a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, has been doing very well in Champs Queue. A lot of people are pretty impressed with him. And let's be honest, he's just a really fun player to watch. When you watch him in the CBLOL, and also how he played, he was able to bring this to the play-in stage. He is so aggressive. He'll look for 1v1 kills. If your supports are both roaming, he's going to try to fight you. He's going to try to go for those kills. He's going to look for the 2v2 outplays. And he's going to let you know about it if he does outplay you. They're jumping up on stage, they're popping off, and they're making those big moments here as G2 are going to get Yone, which has been looking so good so far.
And again, Broken Blade plays this top, so definitely going to be a flex here. And the question of Aurora is going to be the same on the side of paiN Gaming as Cariok on something to set up. The Maokai here, a really solid pick. I feel like Cariok has been someone to play Sedge. Maokai's, this is the guy that sets up some of these bigger carries. As we saw, something like the Sedge, the Maokai, and the Skana picked up a few times here in the play-in stage.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it has really kind of maintained. Maokai has taken so many nerfs throughout the year, but it just doesn't really go away because it sets up incredibly well for your team. It controls vision very, very well with saplings, and it makes it very difficult to deal with. And Yike bringing out the brand. It was his most played in summer. Definitely did like a lot of those power farming AP junglers. This is another one of those picks, though, that people were kind of thinking had actually, fallen out of meta. And when I look back at play-ins, there was a couple plays of it, just the 3 picks, wasn't super popular, and hasn't been picked so far today, but, it is always a massive threat when you come up to the 5v5. Brand, if he gets one full combo out, gets that ulti bouncing everywhere, it is just such a nightmare to deal with.
Well, Rell picked up for MikyX as well, his most played. So we're talking about comfort here for G2, and especially when Miky feels like such an important part to G2. I love seeing him on the snap engage. I love seeing him on the priority support here. While Smolder's picked up on the other side by paiN Gaming, so we potentially have our solo laners. Big question mark as to whether that goes bot, but right now it's looking like mid and top are locked.
Yeah, it's definitely the assumption that it would be mid or top, and it is just a possibility of where they're going to go, right? Like, are they going to flex this around? Because Smolder can be played top as well, depending on the matchup, especially if it is, a less threatening matchup. Like if Broken Blade were to pick a tank or something, you can kind of just like go grasp Smolder and farm stacks off them, which can be quite effective. We'll see if Yike can really outpace Cariok, because this brand, if you do get really ahead of the Maokai, obviously Maokai does have a decent clear, but did take some nerfs to that. Both these champions have taken some nerfs. You can start to really outpace the Maokai, especially because no one is really going AP Maokai these days. It feels like full supportive style, and you can kind of get ahead of him. Really just try to power farm and be a monster in those 5v5s.
Now, while AD carry is getting banned, focus towards the next picks, because here, everyone at home probably saying, like, G2's Ezreal has been looked at in Champs Queue, has been looking really good in the lead-up to Swiss stage. Maybe that's one of the takeaways here is Hansama Draven, an absolute classic to be taken away here with already set up for a big 2v2 thanks to that heavy engage.
Yeah, I mean, he has been so well known for that pick for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
One of his pocket picks that he always can bring out and really threaten you with. Ashe obviously going to be banned away here by G2, starting to limit that AD carry pool. They did already ban out Lucian, that was kind of talked about on the desk earlier on, and now Kalista. So banning out some of these kind of aggressive picks here for G2, both the Lucian and the Kalista can be problematic. I don't really love the Xayah here, honestly, because I don't think G2 have hard committed to like a full dive comp. You could even just go something that's a little bit lower commitment in mid and, put the Yone top or something that is a little bit more kind of pokey from the AD carry. So I do think Xayah can really struggle into range, and I'm just kind of curious if G2 are going to full commit to a dive comp or if they are going to draft a little bit more range here.
Hansama does exactly that.
Okay.
We get the brothers on the same team.
It's the Wind Bros.
But I'm just going to leave this out there. Again, you can still flex this around, but you're kind of assuming that Broken Blade's going to take his Yone top, caps Yasuo mid. I mean, against Smolder, it's kind of the Corki effect, right? We saw a lot of Yasuo into Corki to deny the range and poke.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how G2 do pull this off. They obviously have the Rell for setup, but you can also kind of set each other up here.
Yeah.
You know, there is the knockup from the Yone for that Yasuo as well. This is going to be really exciting here. Broken Blade has brought out the Yasuo in the past as well. He used to bring it out, you know, as kind of a Gnar counter pick, and he's very good on it.
Yeah, that's a really good point you just brought up, Azael. He's pulled it out actually more, too, to that note as well. Caps only once here in the course of 2024, so it does look like it will be BB taking that up into the top side to deal with the Aurora. I love that you also mentioned something like the Gnar, you know, utilizing range in the matchup as well. Aurora very good at poking out, clearing waves. Maybe this will be a new tech here for BB, as we know G2 are very good at applying new tech when you least expect it.
I mean, when you think of G2 at their best, it's always when they are creative. It's always when they're unleashing with these drafts. You know, they were just so well known for having so much confidence. You think to like Pyke solo lanes, and you think to all this creativity and flexibility that they showcased over so many years, even back when Perks was playing something like that all in. If you can't do that and you just kind of try to sit back and farm, it becomes very, very oppressive because she can poke and prod under the tower, and it can become a bit of a nightmare.
Well, Wizer versus BB just got more and more interesting as we get into our last game of the opening day of Swiss here at Worlds 24. And my eyes light up because I see G2 trying to be innovative yet again. As Azael just said, this is the bread and butter of this team. This is what's made them so interesting. And I think at Worlds and even at MSI, right, their adaptation to what they see in the meta, they're like, okay, we're going to try and pull this out and see if it sticks, is always what makes this team unreliable in such a good sense for the enemy team.
Yeah, unpredictable is what I would say.
That's a better word.
Not unreliable, unpredictable is what I would say for sure. I mean, because G2, especially if they come out and if they look really dominant with this kind of draft, then no matter who draws them for the next game, whether or not G2 is planning on bringing it out again, you have to worry about it. And that is the trick against these kind of teams that can bring out flex picks and bring out these really interesting skill matchups, is all of a sudden that's in the back of your head like, ooh, should we pick this? What if they play Yasuo top? Does that actually ruin our draft? You know, it's always going to be kind of weighing on you. So the G2, now they have to execute. They've gone with a cool draft. You cooked it up. If you can really make it work and crush paiN here, then people are going to stand up and take notice of these picks.
Well, on the other side, for Cariok, remember, he's got the Maokai again. He's got a facilitating jungler again. And for PNG, their biggest surprise coming through play-ins, their way to beat R7 with some of these carries that came through. I think Wizer on Jax has had a really good setup at the start of Worlds. Jhin has been an insane 80 carry. And here on the Xayah again, he's got scaling. He's got teamfight presence once more.
And while, you know, we do have to really credit, you know, paiN for being able to make it here, and you know, that definitely is a massive accomplishment. At the same time, let's be honest, their series against R7 was incredibly sloppy.
It was.
And G2 is such a good team on the map that even when they fall behind, and they didn't really have a good early game, to be honest, in the LEC. When you think back to even some of the Fnatic series, it's like 3 times in a row they beat Fnatic, giving up monster early game leads. They are so good on the map. They really know how to spread you out and take advantages in the macro game. And I think paiN is really going to struggle against that. So, you know, even if paiN can set themselves up well, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to, you know, result in a victory here, because G2 really can run the map, know exactly how to play out these situations, and are very clever, very clutch. So, you know, I think paiN is pretty reliant on creating advantages here, but they do have some good scaling, and we'll see how many stacks this Smolder can get in that 1v1. And yes, it's a melee matchup, but Yone is pretty evasive and can be a little bit annoying sometimes to be able to trade with.
Oh yeah, and when his all-in comes through, it is absolutely complete. On the note of G2, by the way, I mean, such a great point that their early game always felt like a weakness, and over the course of this year they were talking about working on their mid game, and their mid game became so concrete that that's what the nuisance is, that's what the annoyance is when you talk about the likes of Fnatic going head to head with them. There's some good trades come down here on the bot side. Now Hunt Summit was engaged on before, but they just pull back and get some damage down as Kuri and Jhin just walk it back themselves. Caps walks into dyNquedo, but some autos come through. It's an even trade.
Yeah, and you can see how much faster Yike cleared. Cariok is just now finally killing his Gromp, whereas the first Scuttle is already dead from Yike. So he's more than a full camp ahead because he walked all the way there. Cariok is going to cross map though, and going to be able to get the top side one because Wizer has push. dyNquedo pushed in Caps mid, and is getting a decent amount of stacks there. Already has 18 already, so that is quite nice. Yes, there is a big focus on just perfect CS and being able to farm stacks off that, but if you can scrap, it accelerates your stacking so incredibly fast on this champion. So when you are playing into melee matchups, it can really accelerate you to the point where you're hitting these breakpoints faster, and then all of a sudden, that's making you farm even faster. You hit 25 faster. Now you have the AoE. It's easier to get all the range minions. Then you're hitting, 125, and all of a sudden you're getting, more and more splash through that's giving you more stacks. It can really kind of ramp up and accelerate.
Complicates things as well. Cariok hasn't made his back yet as he still continues to try and clear out. He's not sitting on the same margin as Broken Blade just walks up into top and runs into Wizer. This matchup so far, it feels like there was a small CS advantage for Wizer before as Broken Blade gets his push in, and of course there will be, considering 32-31 with his full wave into Wizer, means this Aurora has a small CS lead.
Yep, but BB doing well. Really, you just have to survive generally in these matchups. It usually does get better for you as the melee into the range, as you are starting to be able to get some attack speed. Obviously your Q cooldown goes down a lot. You can start to push. You can start to be able to actually take trades more effectively. And Broken Blade is playing Grasp. If you haven't seen that, Fleet got nerfed for range, but a lot of people really started trying Grasp, and it kind of just became very, very popular across a lot of champions. We saw it even from Xayah earlier on Yone. It's played on range champions, it's being played on melee champions. Yeah. People are just honestly really liking Grasp kind of across the board, and you can see that over on the paiN side, as it is Grasp Smolder and Grasp Aurora as well.
It's like when Lethal Tempo started getting explored with, and everyone's like, oh, I can run this on this champion as well. It's like, it's possible anyway. Feels like how Demolish has been for a while as a subset of a rune anyway.
Plus, I swear, just the runes like that just give you dopamine because the number just keeps going up and you're just getting health every time you proc it.
Yeah. It's a massive dopamine proc, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels so good to proc Grasp, and the sound is kind of satisfying as well.
It really is. And
but I've killed myself way too many times.
Trying to get a stack?
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, I can take this trade here.
That's like how you felt about Dark Harvest. You're like, oh man, but I can get a stack here. It's worth it.
Jungler might be in the bush, but I couldn't proc Grasp.
It feels so good as Grubs start off at G2. They move up to top first, so they're going to pick this up in the course of 3. And you already just talked about the power of Yike. This just comes into fruition yet again. 3 picked up, and Kuri, even though he's here to try and roam around, Mickey just forces him out.
Yep, going to be able to push him back. Yike just power farming thus far. And in a great spot already, 3 grubs, outpacing what the Maokai is able to do. And again, Maokai just going to be going for this trade on bot side, which has become the standard. But G2 walk through mid, get the push there, and now it looked like they just pull off the dragon, they give up, they're going to try to turn on
Yike's
Yike.
walking blind, he just gets altered from another world, but he's still not dead. The Fate Shield saves his life. First blood goes over as dyNquedo and makes himself known to get the trade kill. Caps doesn't have anything more in the bank. He flashed away, and G2 get the first blood, but they're quickly traded upon.
Yeah, they do get that first blood, but it does cost them the flash off Caps, the flash off Yike, and Yike does die. But critically, Yike using that XP advantage because he was 6. Yeah. And if you don't insta-kill a Brand who's level 6, gets 1 combo of spells out, and you are going to really pay for it. So was able to do just that, and it does mean that paiN gave up the attempt at a dragon, right? Because they pulled off that dragon, so there's no objective trade. It's just the 1-for-1 in kills, and G2 end up getting the grubs before that, so they are feeling very good, I think, about that overall. And Yike's got a lot more to clear as well. Look at the camps on the other side, still respawning for Cariok. You mentioned the levels. Cariok only just ticked over to 6. Yike will be halfway through as he clears his top side, and as PNG continue keeping their bot in the top to keep that trade in action. Yeah, I mean, Grubs obviously does give you the bonus XP, but Cariok also invested time hitting Dragon, didn't end up getting anything from that. So that's time he could have been spending doing something else, farming additional camps, getting that experience. So, Yike already has the components there for the lay injuries. Going to be looking really powerful when he does complete that first item. And Hans just up on top side here with Mickey pushing that in. You can see obviously the top laners have swapped down to bot. There is a slight CS lead for Wizer, but nothing really to worry about. And Caps now has tier 2 boots, has Vamp Scepter, so he's not really going to be getting poked out. For dyNquedo, again, it's just about really farming the stacks, and he's doing a pretty good job of it, up to about 60, but it's nothing insane at this point, and we'll see if he can continue to accelerate that. I feel like a lot of Smolders just get away with the lane. As also note as we get around this dragon, Mickey is almost level 6. As this is a nice quote. I know you set this up, Azael, because we're talking about G2's expectations on a player who has been alongside this roster, as they said, for over 650 days. Like, this could be another great chance for EU. Absolutely, and I mean, they're putting that pressure on themselves. This is not something they're saying like retroactively after they already did well. I also saw something very similar from Broken Blade, where they're basically saying, we've been together for a couple years now, and basically, if not now, when? Like, we have got to do it now. We've got to have those international performances, and we'll see if they can find it now.
We'll play like this. I mean, quickness comes through. Remember, Mickey's not level 6 yet. There is no Magnet Storm available. He was 1 minion off, but as the curtain call sets up with the Seer and the flash away from Cariok, there's no kill in response. paiN get 1 and get away. And
I will say this is one of the bad habits that we did see from Miky. You know, Miky at times this year did get a little bit, let's say, loose with it on some of his engages.
MikyX DD, yeah.
And, you know, did end up giving over a lot of kills. So this time gives a bit of a freebie over to paiN, but G2 still in the driver's seat. You know, they are going to be scaling well. It's just such a big question about how will you engage, how will you be able to pull this off on the G2 side. Of course, MikyX can be setting them up, but Caps can also potentially set up Broken Blade. He can also set himself up. The counter engage, though, is pretty difficult to deal with because if you're sending in both the Yasuo and the Yone, well, all of a sudden Rakan can be there with the counter engage. You can be getting hit by Aurora. There can be the roots from Maokai. There's lots of lockdown. And your main target, you know, Jhin is very difficult to actually get because of the Xayah ult. So you're going to have to be looking more towards dyNquedo, who does have the safety, of course, of the flap.
And counter engage is huge when you talk about Aurora in the mix as well. I mean, zone control from this champion is nuts, and there's a reason it starts getting banned more and more. When I see it left open, I think, what is your response for this? G2 cooked with the Yasuo. Okay, for the laning phase, or at least beyond that, as you said, it needs to stay safe. But my concern is always when we get to these skirmishes, these fights, and what Aurora so far at Worlds has shown us. That champion is broken, and that champion, when able to zone out 2 or 3 people, changes the whole course of a team fight.
Absolutely, but Windwall also going to be really strong here. You can't just throw out the Maokai ult because Windwall could actually block that. You know, that's going to be really strong also against double AD carries. As G2 looking to set up a dive, Wizer is very low. Cariok trying to come in.
That Steel Tempest needs a hit for the last breath, but Cariok gets caught out in the mix as well. This time the Mag Storm is up and available, so G2 have more to work with, but there we go. The ulti we talked about quickly disengaged from G2. Know that now they have the turning play. The last breath is going to be the last hit for Wizer in this fight, as they'll just take everything in the kitchen sink. A good punish from G2.
Yeah, really well done there by G2. Great map movement. They wrap around behind him, and even though Cariok tries to come cover the dive, Wizer's just too low to really contribute too much to the fight. So, you know, he gets caught out. Wizer can't really do much back. G2 playing the map. As I said, they're so good at playing the map. Yeah. And they just set this fight up really well. BB trades heavily onto Wizer. Cariok gets caught. And if you get stunned, you are getting full comboed by the brand, and that is going to destroy you as a tank. So even though Wizer comes over, drops the ulti, they try to get this opportunity to peel. Just really, there's no recourse.
And Azael, the recourse doesn't come through also because the ult at level 1 is only 1.25 seconds, right? Yeah. It's so quick. And there's not much you can do to build around it as G2 obviously finding the play there and paiN getting pushed behind. You brought it up earlier in the game, how quick Yike was to the setup here as Broken Blade has to flash away, went in a bit too deep. As now it becomes a 1v2, but Yike is 30 CS up. Yike is 1.5k up, and I know in Champs Queue, this guy has been cooking on more than just Brand. Yike has been having a good setup to run into this Worlds as it is.
Brand is just such a nightmare when it gets this far ahead. You know, you get a quick 2 items, you get level 11, all of a sudden it's just like, yeah, okay, great. We dealt with the Yasuo, we dealt with the Yone, but some random Brand bounces just killed our whole team. Like, you know, it just,
what happened?
It can happen to you. It can get very, very annoying. And G2 has such a clear, easy to execute comp. Like, well, I shouldn't say it's easy to execute, but clear idea of how they want to execute the comp,
buttons,
right? Exactly. I mean, you open up with the Jhin ult, you're flying forward with the Rell, there's a Brand ult bouncing around, you know, Yone and Yasuo are going in, Windwall is protecting them from the AD carries. It's a very clear idea of what they want to do. Of course, if you do misstep on the Yone or the Yasuo, it can be very difficult and can get turned around on you, but oh, the Cap's getting a little bit spicy here.
Looking for the setup. It's a Fate sealed. Cariok just disengages. He took phase rush into the battle, so Caps will ult for the trade.
Yeah, he wanted to try to steal away that camp because Cariok early smited on the Krugs. So Cap's trying to get a little bit spicy with it. Does get jumped on as dyNquedo and Kuri trying to move down here. But G2, again, they're just going to play the map. They're going to run you in circles here. Tower's gone.
6 grubs. It shreds. I mean, in the early game again, and I feel like we've had 3 of these games today where there's been nice back and forth trading. The PSG one hits the mind, but the map state and the way that G2 have played it here is obviously so far superior. 4K gold lead at coming up to 14 minutes. When it has been a bit back and forth in kills, it ain't the same way with the way that they're playing the map state.
Exactly. I mean, G2 are just really showing their class on their macro and how they play the map. I mean, great. paiN are fighting pretty well, but it doesn't matter if you're just getting destroyed on the map movements. You know, you're losing the grubs, you're losing these towers left, right, and center. They're now 4,000 gold behind here. They're only up to 1 kill, but they are very far down. 11 turret plates went the way of G2. And so now that advantage is getting bigger. Double Blade the Rune King is completed for Broken Blade and Caps. They're twinning on the items. Have the exact same ones completed there. And Hans has done one. We already know Yike has been completed on one for a while, so paiN are going to get the dragon, but can they get out?
The question is that with the curtain call, MasterCard, we don't have time because we're going to fight this one out. It's set up central for Broken Blade to get the last breath, and Cariok is going to be abandoned by paiN. G2 give another kill, or rather their first kill, over to the top lane.
Yep, going to be able to grab that one, and G2 going to be feeling really good about it. Again, Maokai, your ult is really hard to use if you can't actually force out the wind wall first. There's almost no value from it, so Broken Blade just wind walls that, they walk right through it. You can even do some builds where you cook with like Flicker Blade, where you have a really low wind wall CD, which some Yasuos are actually really liking against comps like this where it gets a ton of value.
Oh my God.
And look at the trades. I mean, that's with Broken Blade taking a tower shot that he doesn't care about because he can just lifesteal up off of the wave. And dyNquedo only at the 130 or so stacks. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not enough to overcome. Exactly.
At this point, it's the biggest question. Is the game still going to be going?
Oh, they're going to commit to this.
From paiN. You mentioned, Azael, that the commitment is there, but I'm a little bit worried. At least the ult comes through and Yike is caught out. The most fed member of G2 is down. A Pyroclasm thrown out on his deathbed, but Broken Blade and Miky are running afar. There's going to be no last breath here after the setup from the Steel Tempest, and G2's jungler is dead.
But look at mid, right? This is the problem again. You're overcommitting. You're sending 5 members down. If they got all 3 and they got the bot lane tower, great. But you're getting 1, you're TPing, you're spending ults, you're spending Flash Ignite on Kuri, you're losing your mid lane tier 1, you're losing minions top, you're losing your Krugs now as well, as Caps is going to farm those away. So sure, you got a kill, but you fell more behind in gold off the play at the end of the day.
G2's early game here is a really nice setup. Coming in, we criticized it, and of course anyone who watched LEC all year would say that it was probably their weak point. Here against PNG, it has been a nice snapshot, to the setup of their tournament.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely looking really good. I mean, G2, let's be honest, come into this big favorites. This is the LEC #1 seed.
Favorites to win it all.
There you go.
Okay.
Win it all against paiN Gaming, yes.
Okay, thank you, Azael.
I mean, you know, this is a team that, you know, their expectations, even from the own players, are saying, you know, we want to win the whole thing. We want to win worlds, right? Yeah. And paiN, you know, they haven't even been able to make it to the Swiss stage in quite a long time. They did do it this time, and that is obviously incredible for them. But G2 is definitely at a different level than the teams they did fight in the play-in stage. So they need to really step it up here. And they have got to really not only execute on these fights, which I think they're doing fine, they're playing fine in the skirmishes, but they've got to make sure that they're answering the map movements here from G2, or you can keep winning every fight, but you're going to lose the game.
Yeah, slowly but surely, right? Gold lead will keep track of. Top of your screen, you can all see it at home, but at least paiN have been able to get the dragons. That's one thing in the back court. 2 minutes 10 till the third. They can start pressuring here. There's a mixture of fans in the audience today, and I love it. I mean, G2 fans always get a massive crowd, but paiN off the side still. Their fans are loud and proud, and you can see why. To make it this far, I mean, it's been such a long ride for them. Yeah. And again, it was so well earned. It was a messy game, but against LLA, you know, they were the team that stood fast a lot better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they did show up when it mattered most and have rightfully earned their spot here. And we'll see how much further they can go. And if they can try to claw this one back against G2, you saw that gold difference. And it's just been kind of up and to the right. As, that's just a couple spells there.
Okay, between 2 worlds and set up as Wizer has done a good ulti, but the setup from Miky might be better. A last breath to send a world all the way to another universe. A curtain call to call it a night. And G2 are always willing to take the fight.
Yeah, paiN trying to look for the engage there. It's a good initial look, but again, the wind wall just gets insane value against what they are doing. And at the end of the day, they can't even finish off Broken Blade. He's able to flash out, and look at dyNquedo not having fun over there against Caps.
Flashes away, and Caps almost gets a solo kill. A grasp to just tickle his fancy on the side, while in a turret on the bot side, dead. Caps with another wave, gets top, and that's dead too. Mid wave is pushing in, and everything is going G2's way in this debut.
I mean, it's already been just a map masterclass here. You know, how they want to play the map. They're moving around. They're taking all of these camps away. They're taking the towers away. They're playing the map so well. So when you start winning the fights too, well, then there's not a lot going for paiN. And G2 showcasing that they can do just that.
I know I'm looking at Hopium, but NA and EU's first seed debut has been really good. I know a lot of the time the debut looks good because I feel like, again, you know, they come through with good meta reads. I think, you know, G2 and Fly have obviously been a bit more adaptive as well in their drafts, but it's been good all the same.
It has definitely been good, but you look at some of these teams that won today, there's not a lot of easy draws, and it does always become that funny situation where FlyQuest is sitting there and they're like, well, if G2 wins, I'd really like to draw G2. And G2 is sitting there and saying, well, I'd really like to draw FlyQuest. And both teams kind of end up wanting to play against each other. Because, you know, do you want to play against BLG? Do you want to play against Gen G? Do you want to play against HLE?
What a choice.
You know, it's really rough out there in those 1-0 matches. So if G2 are able to close this one up, it's going to get a lot tougher for them. You know, both FlyQuest and G2 were recipients of teams from play-ins because they were #1 seed. So that's kind of the benefit that they got. And it does mean you get a game it's going to kind of ease you into the competition a little bit more. But then it's a very steep jump in competition because as Swiss Stage works, if you're 1-0, you only play another 1-0 team, and those are all beasts.
And there's no rematches. Remember, unless it's mathematically impossible that you have to have the rematch, but we're assuming that choice won't come up, that chance won't come up, and no rematches is also very big, depending on how paiN goes, depending on teams like how GAM goes as well. If things go rough, it ends up being a 1-1, then you won't face them again. But for this game, it's still not over. I mean, paiN is 7k gold down. Let's be real. This game is looking real rough with Dragon stacking now stopped, thanks to G2 getting the Ocean Dragon. So paiN needs some kind of wombo, some kind of dream in this game, some kind of Smolder stacking miracle as he gets the execution that they can fall back and find some gold back in this final game of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough because even if he gets the stacks right now, then you really are still waiting for rapid fire, and there's just so much threat over on the G2 side that it's like, okay, if you're even on gold or you're a little bit ahead on gold for paiN, then it's very tough to execute for G2 because they have to be so perfect to be able to pull it off. But when you're, you know, closing on an 8,000 gold lead this early on, and they're probably going to get the Baron here as well, well, then you are really in a lot of trouble over on the paiN side.
Cariok is spotted on a ward, and trouble might be the middle name of G2 as they look for a turn. They fake take it, or rather fake start it, and walk away.
But look at Caps. This is the problem. It's, again, the map. paiN overcommit everyone to one side. They're always overloading because they feel that they're behind, so they're saying, okay, we're behind, we need to group and get a man advantage. And G2's saying, great, we're not going to fight you. And they're just going to take things in the side lane. So it becomes this kind of catch-22 where paiN feels we can't win an even man fight, but we can't actually be able to get a fight, you know, so it's like really, really difficult because they just send 5 members to one side. G2 takes more of an advantage in the side lane, they get nothing from it. And it's just kind of rinse and repeat this entire game as G2 are constantly willing to go to those side lanes, and paiN just can't match.
It's push and pull, and especially with 2 items as well. For G2, they are shredding these waves so quick. Their brother's building the same as well, by the way. So Broken Blade with the Stride Breaker second. A lot of chase, a lot of sticking potential here for the solo laners of G2 as they just return back to it. As you said, we just do it again. Look at where Caps is back. With the teleport available, he goes to bot. PNG now have to be here to be around the Baron, but G2 aren't going to start it. They're just going to go la la la.
Exactly. I mean, you just keep putting pressure on it, right? If you clear all the vision and paiN aren't respecting the Baron, you start hitting the Baron. You don't have to commit to it. If they ignore it, you take it for free. But if you then get found out, you can just keep it leashed until they respond, right? If Wizer TPs or they overcommit, you can have to look for a turn, or you can just take that win of getting the teleport out, of getting some small little thing. As look at Wizer, he does not like that 1v1. That's an ult traded, and he was getting obliterated.
At least the ult was traded, but as he teleports in, or if he does, Wizer not having that's going to be a bigger deal. Nice seer set up with the Blaze, and Cariok takes a bit of HP as well. Ignite burnt by Miky as G2 still hover around this enemy jungle looking for that next pick.
Oh, they're actually looking for it right now.
There's an execute there, so they're going to take the quickness. At least it's the Hail Mary, and this time around again, the Nature's Grass gets a target. Mum flies through as well, but how far ahead are they? Broken Blade with a last breath takes out 2 before himself. dyNquedo flashes out. He's trying to kite around. Some big plays from this mid Smolder, and a shutdown to boot. dyNquedo's alive for now until Caps rocks on up and takes him down. 2 left of G2 is the best you can hope for when paiN was so far behind.
Yeah, paiN honestly doing a pretty good job there. It is a 3 for 4, but at the end of the day, G2 stands strong. Their jungler is alive, their mid laner is alive, and that means the Baron is not long for this world. But Wizer trying to stop them.
There's so much damage though. Can he escape the wrath of Caps? G2's hopes and dreams with another one. And G2 sitting there confidently is a great start.
At the very least, though, he does push them off the Baron, and Kuri's able to get vision of that. Cool stat that I was curious because I didn't remember ever seeing Yone and Yasuo together, in a game. The stats team did check and confirm. It's the first time Yone and Yasuo has ever been played together internationally in League of Legends.
Wow.
So definitely cooking here on the G2 side. Not that we needed that stat to confirm it, but it is cool to see they're the first team to ever actually bring it out internationally.
I mean, for the comp, it's worked seamlessly. They've been in side
really
lanes
well
for the majority of the game, and then they just join in, all in, and the all-ins have been hitting.
And you can see dyNquedo working towards that rapid fire. That is where things start to get a lot more problematic for the other side, as you can kind of just become this poke champ. You just kind of straight back and forth, wait for rapid fire procs, and then you use that obviously on your Q. You're putting it on that true damage burn, and you're kind of poking and prodding, trying to push your opponents lower and lower and get them into a rough spot here. G2 does have a very high DPS build here. Obviously the IE and the S-Reaver are done, but you look over on the other side, and 3 items are really starting to come through for pretty much everyone. Yike even has a Banshee's Veil, which means it's even harder to get any sort of a pick, which you kind of be depending upon. And Hans is super strong on 3, Caps is super strong on 3, so G2 obviously still massively in the lead here. About 9K is their advantage. But paiN getting a little bit of hope, I would say, after a fairly even fight over on that top side, even though Caps wasn't there at the start.
It was in the same position where G2, it got a little bit messy, and paiN would take that every day of the week. You mentioned the gold lead again, 9,000 a lot to work with, and yeah, Caps, here comes the push. Look, Broken Blades in the top lane as well. And paiN are just struggling for vision to try and claw some out of G2's hands.
I mean, it's just so hard. G2 just has to sit here and wait for Caps to do his work. Neither of the soul laners from paiN can do anything about the Yone. We saw that Wizer couldn't touch him at all, and definitely dyNquedo cannot win that 1v1 unless Caps make a serious mistake, or really a series of serious mistakes. So now G2 start this up again, and Caps is just going to go forward, keep pressuring. He's going to be able to get that inhibitor no problem, and now paiN are going to have to decide, do we challenge here?
What do we do? Because Caps will just run and end the game. Nature's Grass starts it off, and as you said, the wind wall is such a pain. Miky gets the engage. Caps still hangs around. The wave disappears while Miky goes down, but a pyroclasm that sets the fight alight. And now for G2, the question is whether they're all right. Caps is holding both waves at once, and with range in the making as well, G2 are just keeping them at bay.
Yeah, G2 is able to get that 1 kill onto Miky, so not bad by paiN, but you are always going to lose that inhibitor on the bot side, so now that is going to make holding the Baron even more difficult.
G2, his ulti was burned, and Broken Blade just closes the gap. An easy one, thanks to Hans Summer with the support. Wizer's still here as well in G2. Let's dance around Baron, Mumbo number 5.
Yeah, nicely done there by G2. Broken Blade just commits the flash. Hans opens up, and then when the curtain call is coming through, you basically are forced to be juking back and forth from the side there. But paiN not going to give this one up. The question is, can they actually get a fight here before Caps just ends the game? Because Caps is not coming.
He's not.
If someone doesn't base, you have to decide, are you going to hard engage here right now, or are you going to answer Caps?
2 people backing away to deal with him. He just walks on up with 6 grubs. Half health on the Nexus turrets. Baron's still going down, by the way, and this time it might be for real. Cariok needs a miracle steal while they commit to Caps, and he's just going to leave it. It'll go down. No contest, and Caps gets out on the side of your screen. The Red Bull Baron power play. This is how G2 will take the game to a win.
Yeah, they're looking really strong. Caps Caps just so dominant in the side lanes there. paiN make the call. Okay, we can't contest Baron. We're going to overload the side lanes. Send both of our solos back instead of just one, and we're going to look to try to get a pick with the Aurora ult. The Caps just ults out of it, no problem. Almost knocked down a Nexus tower as well, and was never even close to being in danger to going down there. So again, G2 just pulling them apart, not allowing paiN to really find anything here. They have no answer for either of the Win Bros here on G2. So it's so tough, man. You're just getting pulled apart.
It's really nice to see. You know, since joining.
Which is your favorite Win Bro?
I think it's Yone now.
Yeah.
I played too much Yone top. I watched Xayah too much, and I fell into the degeneracy. You know. You know, it was really funny to me coming.
It is also much easier and I think much more overpowered.
Yeah. You reckon it's easier? It's
I
definitely...
think it's way easier than Yasuo.
Yeah, it's easy to int on Yasuo, isn't it? But you can still int very easily on Yone if you know how.
You can, but you can just press E, and then you can always go back.
Yeah.
The problem is with Yasuo, I can't go back.
Yeah, that's right. Where's the minion?
I can go in, but I can't.
True.
I usually am dead after that.
Actually, maybe it is easier. So I need to change to Yasuo. Okay, point taken here. At the end of Swiss, I hope we see some more at the very least. Like, we've talked up innovation from G2. It's what we expected. We know they have so much more in their pocket, by the way. This is only the beginning as Nature's Grasp again. Win wall, Azael, walk me through it. There it is. Between two worlds as well, zones them down. Mum does a bit, but Mickey's engaged. Gives a nice last breath to paiN Gaming. That's because they can't breathe anymore as Broken Blade ran all the way in to give Mickey a death. The Fate Sealed won't connect, but G2 are now playing coy. PNG stuck in their base while the bottom wave is going to start crashing in.
Yeah, it's going to get so difficult for them with all of these waves pushing in. paiN do still have their two main carries alive here, though, so a little bit of wave clear is available to them, but you said it. Super's coming in bot, the Baron up wave in mid, in top. They just can't be everywhere at once. They can't clear this out fast enough. And even the wind wall protecting the Baron up cannon is pretty annoying. As you can see, even more damage being dealt to this Nexus tower. Cariok trying to hold mid there. They're trying to get as much gold as possible into these carries, but look at Caps. He went dead, man.
Oh, yeah.
So he's really cooking. Wants the additional move speed there on it. And it's going to be extremely annoying to deal with.
One tank in the game, right? Who's going to do the damage? Well, Smolder. Well, thankfully, the majority of that is still AD. And with the Xayah as well, Caps can just run on in. That's the bliss of Yone, isn't it? You can build things like Jack Show, you can build Deadmans, Randuins. He's got so many builds out there, the versatility is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, he now has the move speed from the Deadmans, plus your E gives you that 10% move speed when you do E in. So it has even additional mobility. He has double lifesteal items. There's quite a bit of HP on the Stride Breaker, so you're not going to 100 to 0 him. You're not going to outduel him. And it just gets really, really difficult for them. G2 playing it slow and steady, but definitely have been in full control of this one for a very long time.
And that's why I was excited before. Fly the same last game, G2 the same this game. Although very different games and very different compositions, it just feels like the first seed of both EU and NA have come into today so well prepped and like no overforcing. We like to see it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's some of the most fun parts of Worlds is you can have two teams that are obviously very good teams, but play completely differently, right? And I think that showcases the depth of the game, of League. And then you get to go to Worlds, you get to see these teams match up potentially and kind of have this clash of styles, right? You know, which style is better, which draft is better, which player is better. Like, these are the fun things about Worlds, getting to have some of those questions answered. And it's just great to watch.
It really is, especially when they're performing well. G2 moments away from moving up to the 1-0. And us again, don't forget, Swiss draw comes in right after our broadcast today.
It's the best part of the day.
It is. You sit there and you're like, what's going to happen next? Ever since we brought this format in, I have been such a big fan. Like, the draws also make it so much more fun.
It actually makes the end of the day one of the highlights of the day, right? Like, it makes it really exciting. As you are praying for specific draws, you're hoping to dodge opponents, you're hoping for specific matchups, and especially if you drop game one, then you are really hoping to get a good matchup in the second one.
Mickey all-inning on this. Now, Chitan has his ulti and flash available, but they just wanted to pull it out. Ignite is so strong, and the fourth shot would be even stronger. Kuri needs to protect Chitan. They get him anyway! Han Sama from the Secret Service or what?
Hans just bends the bullet, snipes out G2, leaving no doubt about who the better AD is.
Oh, the last breath as well. What a way to end the show as dyNquedo finds Miky. It might not be over for paiN for now, but the Fate sealed into the back. Gets Wizer, caps with a beautiful knock-up. The Fate indeed sealed in another way as Hans, in style, helps out with that last kill. It looks to be a TP to end here as Caps, or rather, Broken Blade, walks towards the Nexus turrets.
Yeah, G2 have been splitting the map all game, but there's no more map left for paiN to play in.
It's a clean entrance for EU's first seed as the Win Bros, to put it as Azael said, open us up with a 1-0 start. The end of Swiss Day 1 could not be more clean.
EU and A both getting a win on the board here to close things out. Both the #1 seeds will advance, and now they can be really happy about that. They can breathe a sigh of relief here. First step on the road here is done for G2, and they can look forward now to the draw, to finding out who their next opponent is. And again, there are so many sharks in the 1-0 waters, man. There are so many ridiculously tough teams, but those are the kind of teams that G2 want to take down. And those are the kind of teams that you must be able to take down if you want to achieve the goals that they have set for themselves. When you're talking about, if not when, if not now, when, you're talking about winning worlds, you're talking about having that international success, you have got to be able to beat those big